Why do so little companies own so much, like Pepsi Co and Nestle? Because they have enough money to buy the other companies. Meaning they can buy even more companies from the increased revenue. The more they control, the less options you have to buy something that doesn't give them profit. So goal is to own everything and get all the money. It's horizontal integration. You make enough money to buy smaller competitors in the same market. That way you can control the market and also make it harder for any single business to compete with you. Then you go and buy those businesses when they're failing so you get them for cheap. Capitalism has a winner, so to speak. Whenever a single company gets large enough, they have the wealth to suppress instead of compete against smaller companies. It gets to the point where if any other companies pose a problem, they are just immediately bought out or otherwise suppressed. We call this type of market, where a single company has complete control, a monopoly. To get to a monopoly, however, there is a stage where there are a few major companies battling out for control of the market. This is called an oligopoly, and is what you are describing. Companies like Pepsi Co and Coke only have to compete with each other as each already has control of most the market. It is the natural outcome of capitalism. When you get money and power, you use the money and power for more money and power. When you get rich, you use your money to stay rich. That is why greed and power. As was predicted in Adam Smith's The Wealth of Nations. It's funny how few talk about the last half of the book. The rich get richer. Imagine you own a successful restaurant. Now, you make enough money to buy a second restaurant. So you make even more money. And you can save by buying in bulk. Eventually, you own a dozen restaurants. So your name is well known and it is harder for new businesses to compete on price and name recognition. In unrestricted capitalism, it is pretty easy to get richer once you start getting rich. Also, the US makes it hard for new businesses by making college expensive, by having basically no safety net if a business fails, by having low wages for the poor, and by making healthcare tied to employers so those without employers have to pay a lot in health insurance. Side note, they are not little at all. They are massive. This is a great example of a time when few would have been the better word.
So few.
Monopolies are the natural result of capitalism. This is why we need things like the Sherman Antitrust Act to keep them under control. Unfortunately, this has kinda fallen by the wayside. Capitalism has a concentration of capital component to it. Whoever is doing it better has resources flow their way. This is what is attempted to explain in the game of Monopoly, which ironically was intended to show the dangers of capitalism. Every play Monopoly equals. Because they are not little. They are global conglomerates. If Pepsi County worries you, don't look up 10-cent.
Murder.
Little? Little? Bigger companies will buy out smaller companies, reducing competition. At some point it becomes really hard to start a new small company and compete with the big companies because they have so many advantages over you, like buying in severely discounted bulk. So, fewer people starting new small businesses. And now there's less and less competition over time. As a real-life example, there have been studies that show that if a Starbucks or a Dunks moves in next to an independent coffee shop, that coffee shop will most likely fold. Even if that coffee shop is beloved by everyone in town, and even if most people still get their coffee from that shop's margins are so thin that Dunks, Starbucks knows all they have to do is run at a loss for a year or so, and eventually that local shop will fold. and they will start to be profitable. This is what happens when you don't have strong antitrust laws, aka anti-monopoly laws. Look up Teddy Roosevelt and trust busting. Roosevelt rightly saw that there was not enough competition for a healthy economy and addressed it through some much stronger laws to break up the big corporations of the day. Because anti-monopoly and antitrust law is archaic, it shouldn't be possible. Have you ever heard of the board game Monopoly? Not only that, only few companies control the whole entertainment business. The media, music, video games. And those CEOs are in contact with the world's most powerful families and religious leaders. The Vatican.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epicaricast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.